Welcome to part 2 of the friction zone, practicing from home. So in the last video we talked all about how the friction zone works, but there are other elements that need to be applied when using that friction zone on a hill. Setting up practice for the friction zone exercise, you want to consider some external factors. The hill, how steep that is, the weight of the motorcycle, both the rider and the luggage, additionally to the weight of the bike, and the power of the engine. Most notably, the amount of low-end torque to allow you to truly use that friction zone to propel you forward. In this case, in part 2, I really want to focus on the brakes to prevent you from rolling backward. When the clutch is fully pulled in, it disengages the transmission, allowing the wheels to roll freely, just like it does in neutral. You have 2 brakes to choose from, either the front brake or the rear brake. There are going to be 3 elements that you want to consider when using the brakes in this friction zone exercise, especially when you're going up a hill. The first one's going to be, where's the weight at? The second is, which of these brakes can you reach? And lastly, which method or which brake do you prefer to use once you get used to using both of them? I'm going to explain these in a little more depth. So what do I mean by where the weight is? Your primary brake is going to be the brake that has the most amount of weight on it. So if I'm on a flat surface and I slam on my front brake, all that weight dips to that front tire, meaning that this is now my primary brake. However, when we're on a hill like this, all of the weight of the motorcycle is on the rear, making my rear brake the primary brake in an uphill situation. In greater depth, that means that what you want to be doing is actually applying the rear brake instead of the front brake in a situation like this. You're going to ease off of that brake as you ease into that friction zone. There will be times that you're going to be using that front brake, even though the rear brake technically is the primary brake on an uphill situation because that's where the weight is. However, at times, you just can't get your feet down in order to be able to operate that rear brake, so you have to use the front. Once you get familiar with using both the rear brake and the front brake, then you get to choose which of those do you like using best. However, the situation is usually going to dictate which one you can use. I highly recommend practicing both of these techniques because sometimes things happen and you can't use one or the other, so you best be familiarized with both.